Well, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Happy second night of Hanukkah.
Yes, indeed.
And our 11th Advent story. Yay! We're glad to be with you, and I hope it's been a good week for you all. We're going to have a wonderful time tonight with a great ghost story. Well, at least a demon story. This is a great one. Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins.
You don't usually think about supernatural things happening with Hanukkah, do you?
Well, there you go. So always important to gather around for a good story. Hey, and we're putting another animal on our wonderful Advent calendar by our friend Debonair. And Errol the Wonder Cat has ascended to his bed here. And that's appropriate because today's animal is
Errol!
It's Errol. Yay! It's our cat. Hooray! So we're going to put Errol right up here next to Murphy.
Okay.
All right. And you can see behind us that we've added a menorah. Reverend Diana made a beautiful paper menorah that's on the wall right here. That's to keep our house from burning down. It would ordinarily be candles.
Yes, I couldn't affix the candles to the wall.
No, it would be bad. It would not be good.
Disappointing.
No. Well, we're sorry that our little Tidler thing isn't working. I was very excited, but that's the day it's not working. So today you'll just have to believe me when I tell you that it's Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins. And do you have a special ornament today?
I do, but it's in the attic.
Oh, there we go. Well, tomorrow there'll be two.
Along with yesterday's ornament.
There'll be two ornaments. Very good. Well, let's go to book camp so that you can enjoy these great pictures with us. This is Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins.
By Eric A. Kimmel, with gorgeous illustrations by Trina Schart Hyman.
Here we go. It was the first night of Hanukkah. Herschel of Ostropol was walking down the road. He was tired and he was hungry. Nevertheless, his step was light. Soon he would reach the next village where bright candles, merry songs, and platters piled high with tasty potato latkes awaited him.
Favorite.
But when he arrived, the village was silent and dark.
What?
Not a single Hanukkah candle was to be seen. Isn't tonight the first night of Hanukkah? Herschel asked the villagers. We don't have Hanukkah, Herschel, one of them answered sadly. No Hanukkah? How can that possibly be? It's because of the goblins. They haunt the old synagogue at the top of the hill. They hate Hanukkah. Whenever we try to light a menorah, the goblins blow out the candles. They break our dreidels. They throw the potato latkes on the floor. The wicked goblins make our lives miserable all year long. But on Hanukkah, it's really bad.
Herschel knew he must help the village people. I'm not afraid of goblins, he said. Tell me how to get rid of them. It's not as easy as you think, the rabbi warned. You must stay in the old synagogue where the goblins live. There you must light the Hanukkah candles 8 nights in a row. On the 8th night, the king of the goblins must light them himself. That is the only way to break their power. I'm not afraid, Rabbi, Herschel said. If I can't outwit a few goblins, then my name isn't Herschel of Ostropol. The villagers wished Herschel good luck. They had no potato latkes to give him, so they packed several hard-boiled eggs for him to eat, along with a big jar of pickles. The rabbi gave Herschel a brass menorah, a package of candles, and a box of matches. Then the villagers said goodbye.
Bye.
Nobody expected to see Herschel again.
I don't think he's coming back. Goodbye, Herschel. Have fun storming the castle.
He was such a nice boy.
It was long past sundown by the time Herschel climbed to the top of the hill where the old synagogue stood. The crumbling building was gloomy and dark. Rusty hinges squealed as Herschel opened the door. He stepped inside. Starlight shining through the broken window panes cast eerie shadows on the walls.
Spooky.
Herschel shuddered. Well, could he believe that goblins lived here? Herschel put 2 candles in the menorah and set it on the windowsill. He struck a match and lit the shamus candle. He said the blessings and was about to light the other candle when he heard a voice. Hey, what are you doing? Herschel turned around. Here was a goblin no bigger than a horsefly, with a long pointy tail and 2 little bat's wings hovering in the air. Bzzz. I'm lighting Hanukkah candles, Herschel said. Tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. Oh, no, it's not. We don't allow Hanukkah. Not around here. Here's the little goblin. Is that so? Said Herschel. Who's going to stop me? A little pipsqueak like you? I may be little, but I'm strong, said the goblin. Really? Can you crush rocks in your hand? Asked Herschel. The goblin laughed. Crush rocks? You're joking. Nobody's that strong. I am. Watch. Herschel took a hard-boiled egg from his pocket and squeezed it until the yolk and the white ran through his fingers. That's how hard I'm going to squeeze you if you try to stop me from lighting this candle. The goblin's little eyes opened wide, for in the dim light, the egg looked exactly like a rock. Wow. The little goblin shook with fear. You leave me alone, he squeaked. Gladly, said Herschel, if you let me light my candle in peace. All right, said the goblin. One night won't make a difference, but you better not be here tomorrow. Big, scary goblins are coming, much bigger than me. If they catch you lighting Hanukkah candles, you'll be sorry. We'll see about that, Herschel said to himself. He lit the first candle.
On the second night, another goblin appeared. This one was big and fat and waddled like a goose. Herschel was finishing his dinner of pickles and hard-boiled eggs. Have some pickles, he said to the goblin. Pickles? Here, catch. Herschel tossed him a sour pickle. The goblin caught it in his mouth and swallowed it. Oh, pickles are good. You like them? I have plenty in this jar. Take all you want. The greedy goblin grabbed as many pickles as his claws could hold. But when he tried to pull his fist out of the jar, he couldn't. He was holding too many pickles for his hand to fit through. I'm stuck, the goblin shouted. You put a spell on this jar to hold me fast. That's right, Herschel said, laughing. And it's a very powerful spell. You came here tonight to stop me from lighting Hanukkah candles. Now you must stand here with your hand in the jar and watch while I light them all. How do you like that? No! No! The goblin screamed. I hate Hanukkah! Too bad. You'll have to get used to it. Herschel said the blessings and lit the candles slowly. Then he sang all his favorite Hanukkah songs. The goblin wailed and carried on so that Herschel finally decided to let him go. Shall I tell you how to break the spell? Yes, I can't stand it anymore. Let go of the pickles. Your greed is the only spell holding you prisoner. The goblin let go of the pickles. Ugh! His hand slipped out of the jar easily. How that goblin raged! Here he had stood with his hand in a pickle jar, while Herschel lit Hanukkah candles under his nose. The furious goblin stamped his foot so hard that he shattered into 1,000,000 pieces. The wind blew them away.
On the following nights, other goblins came. One had 6 heads.
Ew.
One had 3 eyes. Ooh. All were terrible and fierce. They growled and they roared and they changed themselves into horrible shapes. They tried to stop Herschel from lighting Hanukkah candles, but Herschel fooled them all.
He's so clever.
Finally, it was the 7th night. 8 tiny candles flickered on the windowsill. Herschel sat back to enjoy their light. Where were their goblins? Had they finally given up? Herschel felt very sleepy. His eyes closed. Suddenly he sat up. He heard a horrible sound. A voice that spoke with crackling of bones. Happy Hanukkah, Herschel of Ostropol. Who is it? Who is there? Don't you know who I am, Herschel? Weren't you expecting the king of the goblins? The voice rose to a hurricane roar. It ripped the shingles from the synagogue roof and shattered the windows. The Hanukkah candles reeled in the savage blast, but they did not go out. You're too early, Herschel shrieked. You're not supposed to come until tomorrow. The great wind died down. Don't worry, Herschel. I am far away, but I have the power to see you and speak to you. Enjoy this Hanukkah evening, my friend. It will be your last. Tomorrow night I shall come for you. You fooled my slaves, the other goblins. Let's see if you can fool me. Poor Herschel. What was he going to do? The king of the goblins was on his way, and no power on earth could stop him. Unless Herschel had an idea.
I have an idea.
He knew what he had to try. It was the only way to save himself and Hanukkah.
It was the last night of Hanukkah. Herschel set the candles in the menorah. But instead of placing it on the windowsill, he put the menorah and the box of matches on a small table near the door. Then he sat down to wait. Night fell. It grew dark as pitch inside the gloomy old synagogue. Outside, the whole world lay cold and silent. Suddenly, a great gust ripped the synagogue door from its hinges. The whole building shook. A fearsome voice spoke.
Herschel of Ostropol.
Did I hear something?
It is I, the king of goblins.
Herschel laughed. Don't be silly. You're one of the boys from the village. You're trying to scare me.
I am not a boy. I am the king of the goblins.
Heh, I'll believe it when I see it. Show yourself to me.
Behold, I stand before you. Do you believe me now?
Herschel tried not to look. Even in the darkness, he could see the outline of a monstrous shape filling the doorway, a figure too horrible to describe. He pretended not to care. It's too dark. I can't see anything. A candlestick and some matches are by the doorway. Why don't you light a few candles? Then I'll see what you really are.
Indeed you shall.
A match flared. The shamus candle caught the flame. Herschel's blood turned to water at the awful sight before him, but he did not lose courage. Master of the world, he silently prayed, thou who created the heavens and the earth and the spirits of the air, stand by me now. Then he addressed the goblin. It's still too dark. What are you afraid of? There are plenty of candles. Why not light them all? A hideous hand took the shamus candle and lit the others one by one. Herschel felt himself growing faint, but he forced himself to look. His eyes grew wider and wider as each candle caught the flame. 6, 7, 8. The king of the goblins stood before him.
Now, Herschel, do you know who I am? I know you're not Queen Esther. Oh, very funny. Enjoy the joke of it. It will be your last. That's what you think. Be gone, or I'll take a stick to you. How dare you speak to the king of the goblins that way? I'll speak to you any way I please. You have no power. Your spell is broken. See, the menorah is lit. You thought those were ordinary candles you were lighting. They weren't. They were Hanukkah candles, and you lit them yourself. The king of the goblins roared with fury. The earth trembled. A mighty wind arose. It ripped off the synagogue roof. It blew down the walls and splintered the great timbers, shattering them like matchsticks. Around the menorah, the whirlwind howled, but the candles never flickered. They burned with clear, steady flames. The king of the goblins had no power over them. The spirit of Hanukkah had triumphed. The great wind vanished as suddenly as it had arisen. Herschel rubbed his eyes. The night was as still as before, even though the synagogue was gone. Walls, floor, roof, even the foundation stones had vanished.
Wow.
But the menorah? The menorah remained, standing tall on the little table where Herschel had placed it. Herschel waited until the last candle burned down. Then he started back down the road that led to the village. I'd better hurry, he thought. I don't want to miss the last night of Hanukkah. But there was no reason to worry. In every window there stood a menorah with 9 gleaming candles to light the way. The whole village was waiting for him.
The end.
What a wonderful story. I love that story.
I do too.
Yes, and I see that several people have tried out a little latkes. I see that Elwood has been cooking some latkes. Please feel free to send them along to us if you'd like to.
Yes, please. I'd like about 60.
Oh, yes. And I hope others of you have enjoyed the story. You see that Errol has moved into his basket, or maybe you can't quite see, which must mean it's time for a song. We're so glad to spend these story times with you. Hanukkah and Christmas and Advent are all times when we gather around to tell each other the stories of things that matter. And this one is a story about how sometimes the best things can triumph over the worst. Yeah, so maybe there are goblins in the world, but a little light and a little clever wit can help us all through.
That's right.
Yeah. So I hope you're using your wits. Be careful. Be good. Be compassionate.
Pack lots of pickles.
Yes, take pickles.
And hard-boiled eggs.
And wear your mask. I was going to say all those things. Well, won't you join us while we sing a song? We're thinking of all of you, wherever you are. I hope that you're spending a night safe and warm with plenty of light.
Yes.
Good night, beloved mine. Good night, sleep well, my dear. Good night, beloved mine. Good night, sleep well, my dear. May cherubim and seraphim watch over you and hover near. Good night, beloved mine. Good night, sleep well, my dear. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and join the story group if you'd like to. We'd love to have you know, and all of our stories are going up. We'll tell another one tomorrow. We've got another Hanukkah story tomorrow, and this one I think you'll really like.
It's a parakeet named Dreidel.
It's a parakeet named Dreidel. And we will tell you about both parakeets and dreidels.
Sleep well. We love you a lot.
Good night.